What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Islam Makhachev has opened up about who he wants to fight next following his win at UFC 322. Speaking with Laura Chenko and Paul Felder right after the event, Islam explained why Kamaru Usman is at the top of his wish list. He acknowledged that both Morales and Prates looked very good in their recent fights, showing strong performances that pushed the division forward. But even with the rise of younger, hungry contenders, Islam still believes Usman is the most dangerous challenge available. He said that Usman remains one of the best fighters in the game, a former dominant champion who has beaten top names for years and proved his greatness at welterweight. Islam made it clear that if he were given the choice and asked directly who he'd prefer to face next, he would pick Kamaru without hesitation. However, he emphasized that matchmaking isn't his job and he will be ready for whoever the UFC puts in front of him. From a legacy standpoint, the call-out makes perfect sense. Usman is one of the greatest welterweights of all time, a fighter whose resume and reputation could add enormous value to Islam's growing legacy. A win over him would not only solidify Islam as a force at 170, but also strengthen his argument as one of the sport's pound-for-pound elites. The question now is whether the UFC will go in that direction. With contenders like Morales, Prates, and others building momentum, the promotion has many options, but Islam's interest in facing Usman shows he wants the biggest challenge available, a fight that could push his legacy to new heights. For now, the decision rests with the matchmakers, but Islam has made it clear he is ready for whoever steps across the cage from him next. Moving on to another news, the MMA community is not happy with Demetrious Johnson after his recent comments about Islam's future following UFC 322. The legend weighed in with a strong opinion, saying that Islam should fight Ilya in what would be a massive showdown and then retire. Johnson explained that he never believed Islam was too small for 170, noting that he'd seen him in person, trained with him, and knew he was a big dude. He questioned who Islam would even fight next at welterweight, adding that he believes Islam is destined for one final blockbuster moment. In his view, Islam should face Ilya at the White House, and if he beats him, that should be the moment to hang up the gloves. Johnson said Islam has plenty of money and should go out on his shield the same way Khabib did. He emphasized that MMA athletes often stay in the sport too long, taking unnecessary damage, and argued there's no reason for Islam to continue if the White House fight happens. In his eyes, taking out Ilya and walking away would be the perfect ending, especially because Islam's influence probably stretches all the way back to Russia, meaning he has nothing left to prove. While the idea is interesting, many fans strongly disagreed. One reaction questioned why Islam should risk everything by fighting a featherweight at 170 when real contenders like Morales, Prates, Usman, Ian Gary, Belal, and Shavkat are waiting. Another fan said they'd prefer to see Ilya fight at the White House in June, then face Kamaru at MSG in November and retire after those two huge fights. Some agreed that Ilya would bring massive money, similar to what Khabib made against Conor, and that beating him could further cement Islam's status as one of the greatest. But others said the matchup makes no sense. One fan called it silly for a champion at 170 to chase a fight against someone from 145, saying they'd much rather see Islam against Morales. Another person pointed out that Khabib retired because of a personal loss, not because of money, and insisted Islam has no reason to step away. They argued that Islam's legacy is built on dominance, and they want to see how long he can continue without losing. They added that Ilya doesn't hold any real legacy yet, and Islam losing to him would be far more damaging than any gain that comes with beating him. Moving on to another news, Robert Whitaker has added his voice to the growing discussion surrounding Islam Makhachev's dominant performance at UFC 322 and what his future might look like. The former middleweight champion shared a bold take, suggesting that Islam may actually have the size and skill to move all the way up to middleweight and potentially chase a third divisional title. Whitaker explained that when he looks at Islam's frame, strength, and the way he carries himself inside the cage, he can genuinely see a fighter who might be able to compete at 185. He pointed out that moving up 2 weight divisions is no small task, but Islam's combination of elite grappling, well-rounded striking, and championship composure makes the idea far from impossible. Whitaker admitted that he has thought about this possibility before, noting that Islam's physicality stands out even among bigger fighters. He said he feels Islam might have the size to make it happen, especially if the right matchup were presented. The idea of Islam wrestling with top-tier middleweights immediately caught fans' attention, as it would create a massive storyline within the sport. Whitaker imagined what a fight like that could look like, saying it would be huge for the MMA world and spark incredible interest across divisions. He also mentioned explained that a move like this would be even more monumental if the UFC decided to host such a matchup in Abu Dhabi. According to Whitaker, an event like that would be absolutely wild, with everyone involved walking away as a winner. The crowd, the fighters, and the promotion would all benefit from a card of that magnitude. With Islam already establishing dominance at lightweight and now collecting gold at welterweight, the thought of him stepping into middleweight adds another layer to the excitement surrounding his future. Whether it happens or not, the possibility alone is enough to keep fans buzzing about what Islam's next chapter could bring. Moving on to another news, Ali Abdelaziz has officially broken his silence on the altercation involving Dillon Danis at UFC 322. If you watched the event, you already know that the octagon wasn't the only place where fists were flying. Early into the main card, a massive brawl erupted in the crowd, and unsurprisingly, Danis was right in the middle of it. Reports quickly surfaced claiming the fight broke out between Danis and members of Team Khabib, including Abubakar, Nurmagomedov, Magomedzukov, and several others who were close by. As clips circulated online, the incident became one of the most talked about moments of the night. After the event, Dana White addressed the situation during the post-fight press conference and wasted no time announcing that Danis has been banned from all future UFC events. The decision echoed the frustration many inside the sport have expressed toward Danis in recent years. Soon after the news spread, Ali Abdelaziz, who manages many fighters connected to Team Khabib, reacted strongly to what happened. The account Boshing Bosh posted on X, saying Danis got jumped by 10 dudes, didn't go down, and even managed to take someone down. This comment prompted Ali to fire back with a blunt response. "Shut up, you are 0-2 in MSG. Everybody beat you because you're a clown. Welcome to New York." Ali didn't stop there. He later issued a longer statement addressing the incident, calling it an unfortunate situation, but also a perfect example of what happens in today's internet-driven world. He explained that many people believe they can say or do anything online without consequences, but eventually words and actions catch up to them. Ali emphasized that accountability matters, especially when someone crosses a line. He said this kind of behavior is the same reason kids around the world are bullied, because nobody steps in to hold the bullies accountable. He made a point to highlight that Team Khabib consists of some of the most respectful and honorable people in the sport, but warned that if someone goes too far, they will be met with consequences. He ended his message by saying, "God bless you, have a nice day." Shortly afterward, Ali doubled down with another statement, writing that from now on, any journalist who interviews Dillon Danis is disrespecting the sport and helping create fake hype and clickbait. He added that the only people who will keep interviewing Danis are losers who can't get real guests. Many fans took this as a direct jab at Ariel Helwani, who regularly interviews Danis. With temper still hot and Danis now banned from UFC events, the fallout from UFC 322 continues to ripple far beyond the octagon. Moving on to another news, Islam Makhachev's legacy talks continued to grow after UFC 322, and both Daniel Cormier and Belal Muhammad made sure to acknowledge just how historic the night truly was. Belal highlighted that Team Khabib and coach Javier Mendez just secured their first double champ, something that cements them as one of the most dominant teams in UFC history. He said that reaching that level is legendary status, and nothing about someone else's success takes away from his own journey. Belal explained that people often assume he'd be unhappy or frustrated, but he made it clear that someone else shining doesn't mean he's failing. His focus remains razor sharp on Ian Gary. That's been his target, his priority, and the only thing that matters heading into his upcoming fight. Belal praised Islam for performing incredibly on Saturday, but reminded everyone that next week is his moment to show up, perform, and prove he's still the top guy in the division. He said nothing else matters unless he smashes Ian Gary and finishes him with a great performance. That, in his eyes, is what will solidify his place and show that he's still the man at the top. Belal shared a light moment too, saying Khabib walked up to him and told him to put your eyes down, because the team now has a fighter holding 2 belts. He joked that now he has to approach Islam with a little extra respect, since the double champ status puts him on a short list of fighters who've achieved greatness in 2 divisions. Belal noted that Islam has now guaranteed himself a place among the greatest fighters of all time, joining that elite category of champions who made history across multiple weight classes. With Islam's dominance at lightweight, his new reign at welterweight, and the respect he commands from legends and contenders alike, UFC 322 became another defining chapter in his already remarkable journey. Moving on to another news, Chenko has finally broken his silence silence regarding the altercation with Dillon Danis at UFC 322. During an interview translated by Red Corner MMA, Chenko explained that their focus during the brawl was solely on Danis and that no one else in the crowd was involved. He went even further, admitting that he felt they didn't do enough damage. He said, "I think it was not enough. He should have got more. In terms of what he's done, it's not much." That type of thing can't be forgiven. You have to be responsible for that. That's our way of life. If you said something, you got to be responsible for your words. Chenko contrasted this with how he perceives Danis and his associates. He said he has no idea what their way of life is, adding that they seem to feel entitled to say anything they want, including insulting someone's family, without consequence. In Chenko's eyes, every word carries meaning and responsibility, and that principle guides how he and his team operate. For us, any single word has its meaning, he stated firmly, making it clear that disrespect comes with accountability. The incident has made it evident that Danis' behavior will not be tolerated in or around the octagon moving forward. With his actions and confrontational attitude, it seems unlikely we'll see him at a future UFC event in close proximity to fighters like Islam Makhachev or members of Team Khabib. Chenko's comments also highlighted the role of Javier Mendez and Team Khabib, emphasizing that their discipline and code of conduct set a standard that contrasts sharply with the recklessness shown by Danis. Overall, Chenko's statement reinforced the idea that accountability and respect are central to Team Khabib's values. While the altercation drew widespread attention, it also sent a strong message. Disrespect and recklessness come with real consequences, and the UFC environment will not allow such behavior to go unchecked. Moving on to another news, many fans and pundits were curious about how Islam Makhachev would look in his welterweight debut. For years, discussions circled around whether he was too big for lightweight, with some insisting that 170 was his natural division, while others worried he might be undersized against true welterweights. But when he stepped into the octagon against JDM, Islam ended that debate instantly. He didn't look smaller at all. In fact, he looked stronger, fuller, and more powerful than ever. He effortlessly took down and controlled the Aussie with a level of dominance that stood out even for him, blending elite strength with razor-sharp technique. JDM had previously stuffed takedowns from natural welterweights, but Islam was operating on a different level, shutting him down from start to finish. This performance reignited an old narrative, the idea that Islam had been a massive lightweight, even a so-called weight bully. The conversation resurfaced because Joe Rogan had repeatedly discussed this on his podcast, calling Islam's weight cut silly and suggesting he was never truly a 155 pounds fighter. Rogan said Islam looked huge every time they stood next to each other, estimating he walked around in the 190 range and insisting he wasn't a natural lightweight. Rogan even mentioned that he had talked to Dana White and Ari Emanuel about reworking the entire weight class system, suggesting big changes were long overdue. After reclaiming welterweight gold, Islam was asked directly about Rogan's past comments, and this time he fired back with clarity. He explained why those claims simply didn't add up. According to Islam, most fighters competing at 155 naturally weigh around 177 to 178 pounds between camps. He revealed that he rarely ate late at night, avoided sugar, and hadn't touched cola in about 5 years. Despite not following any strict diet outside fight week, his walk-around weight stayed consistently manageable. He explained that even in his heaviest periods, he hovered around 182 pounds, which is completely normal for a lightweight fighter. He emphasized that he never had extreme cuts, never starved himself, and lived a lifestyle that kept his weight stable year-round. He said his body naturally stayed around 180, even while eating freely, which directly contradicted the narrative that he was draining himself unnaturally to make 155. Islam's response was calm and detailed, but firm, making it clear that he felt the criticism was based on assumptions rather than facts. He explained that his physique, discipline, and consistent habits allowed him to fight at lightweight without issue, and that the claims about him being oversized simply didn't reflect reality. Moving on to another news, Paddy Pimblett talks about his next UFC fight. For weeks, there's been no shortage of buzz surrounding a potential scrap between Ilya and Paddy, materializing in early 2026. Following Islam's championship win at UFC 322, Paddy admitted he's pretty unsure about who his next opponent will be. After Ilya secured the lightweight title by shutting Charles Oliveira off in June, he immediately called for a fight with Paddy the Baddie. At the same time, talk about Ilya facing Islam has never really gone away, and Ilya continues firing verbal shots at the former lightweight king. Not long after Islam secured the welterweight title on Saturday by earning a decision win over JDM, Paddy shared his thoughts on what might be next. Paddy explained that everything depends on what Islam Islam decides. He said, "For me, it's just like, let's see what's happening now with Islam, because is Ilya going to stick to his word and move up, or is he going to stick to his other word and fight me next? We don't know what's happening, do we? You never know. I could end up fighting Ilya. I could end up finally fighting Justin Gaethje. I thought it was going to be Abu Dhabi, but no one knows what's happening until Islam decides what he's doing, because I know Ilya's saying he wants to fight him, but I'll be fighting early next year. No matter who it is, I'll have an opponent. I'll definitely be fighting early next year." There are many things to consider in terms of Ilya's next move. Paddy also noted that Islam has plenty of options at welterweight. He praised Islam's performance, saying he's a pound-for-pound #1 talent and one of the best ever. Paddy mentioned the talk about the White House event, but he believes Islam will defend his belt before July. He pointed out that while Ilya has talked about moving up to challenge Islam, the welterweight division itself is stacked with dangerous contenders. He highlighted fighters like Shavkat, who has been the #1 contender for about a year, along with others such as Morales, Pates, and Ian Gary if he beats Belal next week. Paddy suggested the welterweight division might even be becoming more exciting than lightweight, which has been the sport's most electric division for more than a decade. He said these are good times for MMA, with exciting fights and boss matchups all around. For now though, everyone will simply have to wait and see how things play out in the coming months.